what are some exercises that people who are watching or listening can practice to be able to build their willpower?
So one simple technique that my guru taught me in the monastery, the way to develop willpower is to finish what you begin. It's really easy to start something, but to finish something takes tremendous amount of will, right? At the start, everybody's inspired, they're full of enthusiasm and energy.
Because they're motivated.
They're motivated, right? So something new, it's inspiring, and then halfway through the project, everybody looks at each other and go, whose idea was this? Right? And then people just abandon it and go start something new. When you finish what you begin, it requires tremendous amount of will. So the way I develop my bicep is I use my bicep to lift weights to develop more bicep, right? I use my bicep to develop bicep. The way you develop willpower is you use your mental muscle to develop more muscle. So every time you finish what you begin, you're actually developing willpower. So for me, the way I develop willpower is I look at my average day and I go, what are the opportunities in my day that I can use to develop willpower? One simple thing that I talk about quite often is every day I sleep, right? It's a reoccurring event. I never go a day without sleeping, right?
Me too.
Right? So every day I sleep. So before I sleep, I floss, I brush my teeth, throw on my pajamas, I go to sleep. How do I finish the process of sleep? I make the bed in the morning. So every day I wake up in the morning, I make the bed. There's not a single day that goes by that I haven't made the bed in the last 25 years.
Right.
So every day I wake up, I finish. So when I make the bed, I finish what I begin, and I'm developing willpower. So now most people look at mundane things throughout the day, like making the bed, it's kind of like, oh, that's a mundane task. Why should I waste time or energy? Whereas in the monastery, we were trained that all the simple tasks throughout the day, from making the bed to putting away your cups or washing your breakfast dish in the morning, and you come into the house and you take your shoes off, instead of kicking it to the side, you can put them neatly. It takes an extra 5 seconds, but you're finishing the process of coming home, right? And all those things are little acts to develop willpower. And imagine if you're taking a pebble and putting it in a jar every time, 2 weeks later, the jar will be filled with pebbles. So I looked at the tasks throughout the day, finishing those tasks as opportunities to develop willpower. And after a month, I've developed tremendous amount of willpower. Now I can use that willpower and direct it align it with my passion to create discipline in my life, so that I can enjoy what I love more.
Because how you do anything is how you're training yourself to do everything.
Exactly, yeah. And it's about creating rituals throughout the day. And people don't realize that, right? So the whole monastery, the life in the monastery was filled with rituals. Everything we did the whole day, by looking at a monk, you could tell what time of the day it was, because you knew what he was doing, right? So I've structured my life now to create as many rituals as possible throughout the day. And I'm even training my 10-month-old daughter the same way. She sleeps at a certain time, she eats at a certain time, we take her for a walk at 5 o'clock in the evening every day at 5 p.m. She bathes at a certain time, just to train the rituals. And rituals shape the subconscious mind, helps you to create those patterns in the subconscious.
Okay, that's absolutely incredible. So what would your message be for everybody who's watching if we're going to give them a challenge?
I would say, step one, truly take time to figure out what your passion in life is, because that's really going to drive your ability to discipline your life.
And one of the ways is being just by yourself.
Yes, and the simple thing to do is wake up in the morning, have a shower, find a quiet spot in your apartment or your home, and sit down with yourself for 5 minutes. No music, no books, no podcasts, nothing. And just have a conversation. If I wanted to get to know Jim, I need to have a conversation with you. I need to ask you questions, right? If I ask you what you ate yesterday, I don't learn very much, but I ask you, why do you do what you do? Tell me about your life, passion. And if I do that every week, I'll really get to know you. So have that same conversation with yourself. And if you do that every day, I bet you after a month or 3 months, you'll start to discover what is truly important in your life. And that becomes your passion, which then you can align your willpower by finishing what you begin every day. Pick one task, making your bed in the morning. If you don't make the bed in the morning, start making your bed. Every morning, wake up, make your bed.
Or wash the dishes.
Wash the dishes. And every time you finish what you begin, don't think that you're making the bed. Think that you're developing willpower.
You're training.
You're training. It's a training practice, right? So when I make the bed, I don't look at it as, oh, I'm making the bed. I look at it as I'm developing my willpower. And that drives me to make the bed. And that the willpower I'm developing here allows me to spend time to discipline my life, which allows me to get more of what I love in my life.
Astonishing.
That's why I make the bed.
I think a large part of people who are watching this right now, they believe that they haven't found their purpose, or they think that there's just one purpose to their life. What's your feeling about purpose?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't know their purpose because they've never spent any time trying to find their purpose. And there's no structured approach to it. So even when you're growing up, nobody tells you in school that you need a purpose in life. But if you look at your daily life, your whole life is driven by purpose. People get in a car, why? Because there's a purpose to drive to go to dinner, drive to go to work, right? You take a shower, there's a purpose. You know, everything you do throughout the day, all the mundane things is purpose driven. So why shouldn't life have a purpose? And most people don't know their purpose because they never spend time with themselves. And then our gym people say to me, oh, I spend time with myself. Every evening I walk my dog for half an hour. That's my alone time. And I'm like, no, that's walking your dog. And you know me, I love defining things. You know, people say, oh, I go for a jog in the park. That's my alone time. I go, no, that's jogging in the park. You can't say, that's your alone time. You're alone. When I say you want to find your purpose, you need to sit down, no music, no podcast, no journals, eyes closed, going internally and having a dialogue with yourself. The way I can get to know you is to spend time with you, right? We met every week, every Friday for lunch for 2 hours. After a year, we know each other really well.
Right.
I know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what drives you, what doesn't drive you. Same way, how would you discover your purpose? By spending structured time with yourself in introspection. Yeah.
And so we're talking about willpower, we're talking about discipline, but underneath that, it's interesting because I don't think a lot of people relate that necessarily to love and self-awareness. Yeah. But self-awareness is so important. It's a superpower that you can develop.
Yeah. It totally is. And if you don't know what you want, then you'll never be driven. And that's why if you look at most people, they go from one thing to another. They're driven by the trends of society. Now this is popular, so I'll do it for a while. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe it's yoga, then it's soul cycling, and then it's this and it's that. And people are just going from one thing to another. But if you look at the most successful people in the world, they just do one thing.
Right.
They play tennis or they play football. You know, like the people, one or two of the athletes that I work with, you know, one's a soccer player, and that's all he's done ever since he was a kid. He's played soccer. He doesn't do tennis. I mean, he might play with his cousin on the weekend or something, you know, but that's all he does. He just does one thing, and that's why he excels in it. And